This is a HeadGum podcast.
Before we get to the episode, we want to take a moment to address the June 24th Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. This decision stripped away the legal right to have a safe and legal abortion.
Restricting access to comprehensive reproductive care, including abortion, threatens the health and independence of all Americans. This decision could also lead to the loss of other rights.
To learn more about what you can do to help, go to podvoices.help.
We encourage you to speak up, take care, and spread the word.
Hello and welcome to The Complete Guide to Everything, a podcast about everything. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
And I'm Tim.
Tim, off to a bad start. I started recording, I cued you, completely forgetting for the last 700 times we've done this. I say the beginning.
Yeah, and I was a gentleman, and I could have just jumped in and been
stolen my thunder.
Yeah, guess what? I'm the guy now.
I'm the
first voice the listener hears.
And now all of a sudden you're getting all the royalties on all these episodes.
And all the lurid fan mail.
We've never really gotten lurid fan mail.
No, we haven't really gotten fan mail.
We should give out the P.O. box more often. Get some lurid fan mail.
Yeah, get some fan mail that somebody sprays perfume on.
Perfume or cologne,
yeah, that's true.
You know, look, we're both taken men.
Yeah,
so
we're not going to
indulge
on any of your fantasies.
Yeah, so let that be an invite to anyone.
Yeah.
To live out your fantasy by
send us sick stuff through the mail.
By sending us some really filthy letters. How are you doing this week, Tim?
Tom, in some ways good, in some ways bad. We're all doing bad in some ways.
Yeah.
But today, I had a full can of Coca-Cola Classic.
Oh, well, then how bad of a day could it have possibly been?
Not very, right? It's rare, Tom. Sometimes I'll even have I don't know. It's been a long time since I've even had one of those little cans. You know those little cans?
Oh, yeah. Tim, you got to know that I don't care for those little cans. It's not enough soda.
But I'm not a soda guy, Tom.
Yeah.
I drink water.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've had that sometimes.
Whiskey.
Uh-huh.
And hard kombucha.
Whoa, hard kombucha.
Yeah. I drink
Holy
hard
cow.
kombucha all day, every day.
I had to go back to the doctor the other day for just a follow-up visit, and they needed to take blood again because my cholesterol was high. And the lady's like, you drink any, the lady being the nurse taking my blood, she's like, you have any water today at all? And I was like, oh, no, now that you mention it, I haven't. She's like, yeah, because your blood's real thick.
That's a thing?
Yeah, she's having trouble getting my blood out of me. It was too thick.
You need water to thin the blood?
Apparently.
I don't think this nurse knew what she's doing.
Problems?
There's maple syrup in your veins.
I was looking at the blood. The blood was dark, this blood.
Well, that couldn't have been good result. Do you have to go for another follow-up?
No, they sent me the lab results, and they were like,
this is good? This blood that was too thick to get out of your veins is fine?
There were no viscosity tests.
Clean bill of health.
Yeah. They were like, your cholesterol's low.
A man whose blood doesn't flow through his veins because it's too hard.
It wasn't hard. It was just
kind of sits in the vein.
Yeah, it's good. Less wear and tear on the old veins, Tim. You know, you want blood rushing in and out all the time. Those veins will wear out.
My word. You got to drink some more water, my friend.
Yeah, they said something to that effect. But they were like, everything's pretty. They were like, have some more fiber because your cholesterol's a little high.
Is that a thing? Fiber and cholesterol?
Apparently, that's what they were saying. And he was like, you said you take fiber sometimes. I was like, yeah, should I take it all the time? Should I do it every day? And he was like, yeah.
Good doctor.
Tim
doesn't worry about thick blood. Have fiber, I guess.
He wasn't there for the thick blood. My doctor's name is Tim, by the way.
Wow, you call your? I've never known a doctor's first name. I think it's inappropriate.
Well, this is a general. He's a nurse practitioner, not
Is he cool?
Actually,
does he
cool.
Does he come in and turn the chair around and sit on it backwards when he?
Yeah, and a lot of times
dismissing concerns about your thick blood.
Yeah, he comes in, he spins the chair I'm in around a little bit,
That's nice.
just for fun. That's what you were talking about,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. A little ride.
Yeah, and he's the nurse said you got thick blood. That's fine. Just keep an eye. Just have a little more fiber. That's all that I ask as your doctor, whose name is Tim. So it makes it easy for you to remember.
Tom, speaking of fiber, I think this is speaking of fiber. I don't know. I got to do the research. I'm going to become a smoothie guy. Did I tell you this?
No, you didn't tell me.
Guess what
this.
I'm going to have in my possession in just a few short days?
Smoothie?
A Vitamix blender.
Oh, I got one of those ninja
Yeah,
guys.
no, that's Tom. Don't insult me.
Tim,
my blender.
at least I have one.
Yeah, well, guess what? This has to be shipped because it's the real deal.
Well, this one had to be shipped. I didn't make
I
it.
don't know. It's here.
You think I bought it
A
in
ninja does not hold a candle to a
Tim,
Vitamix.
you have no idea.
Tom, go on thewirecutter.com. I dare you. I freaking dare you.
That liberal rag, Tim.
I freaking dare you.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm going to be blending all sorts of things. I'm not going to drink anything or eat. I'm not going to consume anything that
Unless
hasn't
it's
been
blended.
personally blended by myself.
What kind of fiber are you going to put in there? Sand or something? Something real,
I don't
really
thi-
clean
I
you out?
think I understand why you're a doctor. I think I
Why
understand.
my blood's so thick?
Yeah.
Every morning I have a nice sand smoothie. Really clean me out.
There's fiber in everything, right?
Apparently not, or else you wouldn't have to take fiber from other
Right,
stuff.
There's
There's fiber in I think every fruit and vegetable.
Yeah, I'm gonna be putting those. Tom, you should see the way this Vitamix in the videos that I watched really go to town on these fruits and
Tim, you
vegetables.
should see the way this ninja goes.
I've had a ninja before, Tom. It's pathetic that
oh,
you. That
I don't. You know what? I don't have a ninja. I have a magic bullet. That's
Oh.
what I have.
Tom, you should keep telling people it's a ninja if you catch my drift.
What? Tim, a magic bullet. That's what killed JFK. It's a very famous brand.
I know, and you bring that into your home.
How are you doing this week? Oh, you already said
Yeah, I
that.
had soda.
Yeah,
That's
soda.
why I'm talking so fast, too. I have coffee every day, Tom. I have too much coffee every day. Mm-hmm. Then I have this can of soda, this 12-ounce can of soda.
Yeah, I don't.
And I haven't felt like this in years. I'm bouncing off the dang walls.
I don't have regular Coke. I don't have any soda very often anymore. I don't keep it in my house for the most part.
Right.
But when I do,
That's such a technicality, a loophole. You were just oh, I don't have soda in the house anymore. And then anecdotally we found out that every day you go to the store and buy a bottle of it that you consume outside of the
I
house.
don't do that.
You stand in the alleyway
Chugging it.
kick back a 2-liter bottle.
I did that once when I tried to kick caffeine for good.
Yeah, cold turkey.
Yeah, and I had to stand in a ShopRite parking lot drinking cans of cherry Coca-Cola because my head felt like it was going to explode.
Worst ways to spend a night when you're 26 years old? Did that happen?
No, I was 22.
All right.
Yeah, I should
Well,
have
that
been
makes it
even
even
having
sadder
more
that,
fun.
yeah.
But every once in a while, I get a can of traditional Coca-Cola, and yeah, it is great.
Yeah.
I like to get it when I'm already eating something terrible for me.
Oh, yeah.
Like a pizza or something. That's when I'm like, what's another 200 calories?
Yeah, that's how I feel. I drank it.
Probably a very unhealthy way to view your diet.
Yeah, if you're doing this, what is my blood going to get thicker?
It already barely moves as it is. It kind of looked like Coca-Cola when she took it out of my veins.
Was it carbon? Is your blood carbonated as well?
I don't know.
Your
She didn't
thick
shake it up.
carbonated
I
blood.
was like, can you give that a quick shake? Let me see what that does.
No, it'll get all over the place.
It'll fizz out all over. Yeah.
No, today I drank it on an empty stomach,
Uh-huh.
which I think also added to it.
Yeah.
Tom, I think I'm at my best after a can of Coke.
Well, maybe you
Is
should
that what
have one
people
every
on
day.
cocaine think when they do cocaine? They're like, this is the way I should act all the time.
Yeah, because it makes them very confident.
Yeah.
Did this Coca-Cola make you very confident?
I always have a healthy amount of confidence.
Tim, was
so.
this like did you accidentally drink like 100-year-old can
Yeah,
of Coca-Cola
it was
that
a
had
can
cocaine in it?
that was in a recently unearthed refrigerator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that'll do it. It might have had cocaine in it.
Yeah.
A lot of old buildings here in New York City. You never know
true.
if there's an old can of Coca-Cola floating around out there.
Is there some fact? I feel like there's a fact that, like, the average person, even who's not a drugs person, has ingested like 5 kilos of cocaine in their life just by like it gets in like the hamburger meat sometimes or whatever.
Well, I know there's some fact about that, like all dollar bills have trace amounts of cocaine because people are always snorting it.
Doesn't matter. I haven't used cash. I'm cashless, Tom.
Yeah, I haven't eaten any dollar bills in a very long time.
Not since I was 22 and was jonesing. I was going cold turkey and ate a bunch of $20 bills in a Citibank parking lot.
I think it's something where it's like $100 bills are more likely.
Yeah, because that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, if you're gonna snort,
be a cocaine guy.
Yeah, do it with a $100 bill for God's sake.
Yeah, be a flashy cocaine guy.
I
You
feel
don't
like-
be a low key cocaine guy. Why even be a cocaine guy?
Yeah, $100 bills too. I feel like less wear and tear on them than the lonesome single dollar bill.
Yeah. Who knows?
Now overseas, they've got like a lot of the money nowadays is plastic. I wonder if that's better or worse for doing cocaine.
Probably, I would say better. Cause
Yeah,
it's not
right.
Because
the
caught in all
cocaine's
those
not going to
fibers.
get stuck. Yeah, you get more cocaine.
Hey, you heard it here first. If you're gonna do cocaine, go to Europe.
Tim, we should go to big cocaine spots, clubs and whatnot, with some foreign bills.
Yeah.
And we should make that like a thing. Like, real cokeheads know.
Yeah.
You got to do it with a 100 euro note.
Someone's gonna knock your lights out in Miami.
And then we'll sell it to them. We'll tell them like, the exchange rate's crazy right now, though. It's $1,000 every $100, every 100 euros. So, but you don't want to look like a real novice in there in the club.
Exactly.
That's
and
what people.
Do you know how we got to get the facts? Like, do you know how much cocaine particles get caught up in the fibers of American money? You know that's essentially cloth. Would you snort through your pair of jeans? Right.
Yeah, you're
That's how we sell
leaving
it.
cocaine in the bills.
Yeah, and then you're giving that to some service employee because they all hate service employees.
Yeah.
too. These flashy cocaine guys.
These flashy cocaine guys, they like bottle service girls. Though.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so they might put up a little resistance there and say like, well, actually, I kind of like having a little cocaine on the $100 bills that I give a bottle service girl.
Right.
And we can say, look, you can still do that, but also buy our.
Please buy. We need the money.
We spent all this money just buying this 100 euro note. And then we
These
took
plane tickets to Miami.
We took this flight down to Miami. We didn't know that you had to pay to get in the clubs.
Look, clubs are expensive. We were in that line out there for 4.5 hours.
We ordered 2 drinks thinking how much could they be? They were $50 each. We're really in the hole here, pal. You got to buy this off of us. Tim, this week we're talking about, this isn't that new of a thing, but it's new to us here.
Yeah.
The sovereign citizen movement.
Yeah.
Do you know what this is?
Dom, every once in a while, you suggest a topic idea that I think, well, I'm not going to do any research about this because that would put me on a list.
Right.
So I'll let Tom do all the research and explain it to me.
Yeah.
Is this something? Let me just ask off the
Yes.
top so I can play both sides if I need to. Is this something that's going to have people coming after us for just us mentioning it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I should also preface.
This isn't like a group that is going to like be
no,
like...
it's a very loosely held collective.
Okay, all right.
And I should also mention up top that it has racist roots.
Okay.
But a lot of people now involved either don't know that, don't care,
or have black friends themselves.
Well, no,
you wouldn't believe it.
No, there is actually a like a separate black sovereign citizen movement.
Okay.
That involves like a different. But
I will say this.
Uh-huh.
Being in America.
Uh-huh.
Saying that one of our topics has racist roots. I think we could go back and hit like 30% of our topic.
We might have to go do a bunch of preambles about that.
Right. But yeah, okay, cool.
But all that, do you know what a sovereign citizen is?
I do not.
Okay. These are people, I'm sure versions of this exist in other countries. Mm-hmm. But this also seems like a very American thing.
Right.
Where basically there are people that think.
Just indignant people.
People that think through a series of like loopholes, like legal loopholes, and weird trick. They can claim themselves as a sovereign citizen, meaning that they are not a citizen of the United States of America.
Okay.
Therefore, not subject to the laws of the United States of America. Never mind the fact that you're subject to the laws of the United States of America, regardless of whether you're a citizen of America or not. But
yeah, I've seen. I recently saw a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
Served to me by the algorithm. Like, I watch like Weird Al videos and like food preparation videos on YouTube, and then they're just like, would you like to watch Sovereign Citizen gets beat up by a cop? And it's like, I guess, I don't know, it's just this is what you recommend after I watch the Eat It video? Okay. Like, all right, I guess. And there was a guy there spouting a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be, to me, like, I had nobody to root for in this video.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But also, like, they were each spouting all different types of mumbo jumbo at each other.
Yeah. So now this is also considered, by the way, a dangerous terrorist organization by
Well, Tom, didn't I just ask you that?
But not for podcasters, for like everybody.
Okay, what?
You asked if people were going to come after you.
Yeah. Will they?
Probably not.
These people whom I have the utmost respect for?
Tim, there's about by estimates about 100,000 hardcore sovereign citizens in America.
There's only 2 of us, Tom.
Yeah. So we'll take 50,000 each. And about 200,000 testing the waters, trying things out, interested, wants
like
to
the
hear
guys
more.
that will, when they get pulled over, only open their window an inch, and like those are.
Yeah, so
because I've flirted with that kind of attitude before.
Yeah, there's that's like kind of one of the big things that they do that. They will drive, and there was somebody. This came into my mind because there was a Reddit post on r/Brooklyn recently where somebody took pictures of a license plate that just said "private" on it, and it was like a car parked on the street, and they were like, "What the hell is this?" So there's this idea. There's a few ideas, but one of the ideas is that as far as cars go, I guess there's like, something in our U.S. laws that say we have freedom of movement.
Right.
And
that's just Tom. Look.
Yeah.
I'm moving
Tim
my arms
right now,
around.
He's moving both arms independently of one another. And he's free to do it.
Proud to be an American.
Now they consider traveling and driving 2 different things. And they consider driving. A lot of this is they'll go back to like old dictionaries from the time or whatever. I can't find it right now, but I had like an example from it was like in the 1823 edition. Oh yeah, 1828 version of Webster's dictionary defines arrest as such. and then they consider things that aren't actually arrests.
Okay.
But along those lines, they consider traveling. If you're driving your own car, you're piloting the car or whatever, that's you traveling.
Right.
Driving is transporting goods or paying passengers.
According to a dictionary definition.
This, I'm not sure if it's a dictionary definition, but it's like whatever the law was at the, a while ago. So basically they argue, well, if I'm not using my car for paying customers or for commercial use, it's a private vehicle and I don't need a license to operate this vehicle. I don't need insurance. I don't need a registration.
Right.
It's a private vehicle. Now, I believe you can do this. Like if you're a farmer or something and you've got like 100 acres, you can have a truck that's like, oh, this is the truck I use for the farm.
It's not registered.
Yeah, it's not registered. I don't have insurance because I don't drive it on public roads.
Right.
It's only used on private property. But, these people...
Imagine having that much land where you could drive a car around on it, Tom.
Yeah. Imagine having enough land to park a car on it. That would be the dream for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they take this one step further and basically say, no, you don't need any of that stuff. So that's why there are tons of videos of these people getting pulled over and they roll down the window just a crack.
Right.
And they'll say like,
which I think is cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool to be like a little stinker in that way.
Right.
And I think a lot of this is just kind of like, I'm going to be a little stinker and there's not really anything you can do about it.
Well, that's
I'm
a funny thing.
Technically complying.
Like I was looking at a website where you can, this is where like I'm going to end up on a list because I was looking at a website where you can buy these license plates.
Right.
It's not bad. It's $40 and that gives you a front and back plate.
Which make one yourself out of freaking cardboard.
No, these are like nice. They're made out of like aluminum.
Well, you're trying to fool somebody or you're just trying to make a point here?
Tim, why can't you do both?
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I was looking at them, and like one of the reviews, there's a guy who was like, I've had these on my car for a week and nothing's happened. Like they work great. It's like, well, a week isn't really enough time to test.
I thought you were going to be like, and nobody's even called me out. I haven't been able to make one speech about how it's unjust that I was pulled over.
Well, this guy did have something in his review about how he's like, I drove to Michigan. I saw 10 cop cars and they all stayed away from me. And I think that probably isn't completely untrue because I imagine a lot of cops like don't want that hassle.
Yeah.
Don't want to pull somebody over that's just going to argue them and it's going to escalate. And like because I think like you said, these YouTube videos and a lot of them, it's like they pull somebody over, that person refuses to comply in any way. And eventually it's like, well, either I'm going to have to let you go or I'm going to have, and then like you're going to win.
Force.
Yeah. Or I'm going to have to smash your window and drag you out of the car and arrest you. And yeah, I would very much depend on the cop that you get, whether or not they'd be excited about that or would be like, I don't need that today. My shift ends in a half hour.
I mean, that's my thing about a lot of people in American society right now. It's gotten a little annoying, and I'm not saying that the sovereign citizen movement people are annoying by any way.
Now that you've learned they're dangerous.
But that people, I've talked about this, that people assume that like other people just want to debate all the time.
Right.
And it's just like, nah, man, like I don't want to get into a debate with you on the sidewalk. I said, excuse me, and like, you decided that you didn't want, that you shouldn't have to move and you wanted to like tell me why. And like,
yeah,
I don't know, say every little interaction doesn't need to be a debate. When it's like, oh, change my mind. I don't want to change your mind.
Yeah, I don't care what you think.
Yeah, it's
as long as you leave everybody alone.
Yeah, think whatever you want.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Just don't act on bad things. Yeah, I watched this video of, it was actually a pretty funny video of like a guy who is, I think it was one of these things where he had like a court appear. Oh, you know what it was? He was literally given like a summons or whatever for riding a bike at night without a light.
Okay.
Which, like, I'm sure for these guys is like exactly the type of like, ooh, that's exactly what I'll.
A ticket or a summons?
I'm not. He had to appear in court.
Wow, that's a steep price to pay.
Well, or maybe he didn't have to, but he
did.
He did, yeah. But I imagine that's like exactly the type of ticket that's like, ooh, I'm gonna destroy my life to not pay this ticket. So he was in court and he was recording in court, and like a bailiff came over and was like, you can't record. And he's like, no, I free him of the press, and he's like, you can't. So I get him out of the court.
I agree with them on that point.
Get him out of the courtroom. Well, I think it like wasn't his case going on.
Okay.
And it was like, well, no, this is something that you can't
Well, then
record.
how does Judge Judy work?
Tim, Judge explained to you so many times. She's not a real judge.
How did night court work?
Night court, all those were hidden cameras.
Okay.
They didn't know they were there.
It was the system was trying to shut night court down for the 6 years that it was on
night
TV.
court was actually, a lot of people don't know this, but that was all sovereign citizens filming all that.
Wow.
Trying to just prove, and I think they did a pretty good job of proving how incompetent the night court system is.
Scathing indictment, the night court system.
But this guy, like, they eventually got him out of the courtroom, and then I guess like he had to come back in for his thing, but he wouldn't stop recording. And they were like, you can't go in there. And the guy, and he's like trying to push his way past the two bailiffs, and then he says, yeah, what did he say? He said something where they're real big into the fake legalese speak.
Right.
So,
but also one could argue that all legalese is mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, but it's like these are real dumb people that just don't.
Tom again?
But this guy's just like, I would let the record show, and like as he's saying that, they tase him, which I found pretty funny.
Well, no, I don't.
It was funny because he was unexpected. He didn't see it coming. He was trying to be like,
Right.
let the record show.
I mean, but
that.
if you walk in, if you like, I wouldn't recommend. But like, you go to the Senate and look at the way that they talk to each other.
Yeah,
they talk to each other in the same way.
Well,
but you, Tom, you revere all 100 senators,
all of them, regardless of their party. I think they're all just doing a great job.
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
Who's zooming here? Who here?
Look, it was mostly just like, I don't think it's funny when people get tased, but the timing of this, it was very funny.
Yeah.
It was good comedic timing. This guy might not be a sovereign citizen, but he's a pretty funny one.
You know, it's funny. We all laughed at that "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If that video came out 10 years later, we'd be marching for the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy.
People be wearing "Don't Tase Me, Bro" shirts in a completely different way.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I think
Really
that guy
makes you think.
I think that guy got a raw deal.
I forget what that guy's.
He
whole
was
thing
asking a question to like Al Gore or something, and then they didn't like the question, so
Yeah.
they tased him or something.
Well, he wouldn't. I think it was he wouldn't leave.
Or he
and
wouldn't
they
shut
tased
up.
him. Yeah, he wouldn't shut up. He wouldn't leave.
College kid, stop. But like, I don't know. If you tased every college kid for being annoying,
Maybe it'd be a good start. Maybe we'd finally get this.
I'm learning
country
a
back
lot
in
about
order.
you. Yeah, I'm learning a lot about you this episode that I'm not sure I like.
Tim, I want to talk to you about some of the ways these people think.
I think we should go back to doing episodes about like beans,
Tim,
hats.
we covered everything there is to say about beans until we get to beans part 2 and until they come out with some new beans.
Yeah, well, I'm just waiting for new bean news to come out so we don't have to agitate terrorist groups.
So one of the primary reason, or one of the primary reasons why that these people believe you can become a sovereign citizen was that the current government's illegitimate, and that there was this there was a
Tom.
secret changeover either during the Civil War
Okay.
or when we left the gold standard.
You know what? I need to read up on this whole gold standard. That seems to be like a theory for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's for like a
people
lot
are real
of
upset
stuff
about,
changed.
all up in arms about the gold standard. I'll admit, I'll plead ignorance on this one.
Well, it basically changed, from my understanding. Every dollar was backed by gold in the Federal Reserve, and then at some point they were like, let's just print money.
Yeah,
And let's just say it's worth something.
and then we got the Wizard of Oz.
What?
The Wizard of Oz is like
it came out right around then.
No, and it was like a parable for
For the gold standard?
Yeah, the
Really?
yellow brick road. It was like yeah.
Well, you should have made it clearer. So they believe that that's when the government became a corporation, and that we've been tricked into contracts with that corporation via Social Security numbers,
Okay.
fishing licenses, and zip codes.
Fishing licenses?
Yeah. Any kind of license, marriage license, car license. Basically, they believe like once you interact with the government in that way,
Right.
then you're agreeing to a contract where you're basically saying, okay, well, now I'm in the system. I have to abide by your rules.
Right.
As I watched this video on YouTube, I think it was like a Vice video. And they were talking to this guy, and he was like, 45 years ago when I was 15, all I wanted in life was to get married and like have a family. And the host was like, did that happen? He's like, no, I can't get a marriage license because then I'll be part of the corporation. I'll enter into a contract with them. Another common belief among sovereign citizens is that they can opt out of this purported contract, hence making themselves immune from laws they do not wish to abide by declining consent. And this is probably what you saw in some of these YouTube videos. When confronted by police officers or other officials, sovereign citizens will typically attempt to negate their authority by stating, I do not consent.
Right.
Did you see any of that?
I think so. Tom, I
lot of
saw
times
one,
they'll-
and I was
they'll-
more confused than anything, and I went back, and I was like, let me watch the Like a Surgeon video instead.
A lot of these videos, it will be like, a cop pulls them over because they don't have plates.
Right.
And they'll roll down the window an inch. And the cop will be like, hello, sir. How are you doing tonight? And they say, I do not consent. I do
Right.
not consent. And normally it just escalates from there.
Right.
Some also believe that you need to renounce citizenship at a county clerk's office.
Huh.
A lot of them see the county clerk as actually like the highest authority.
I mean, the county clerk has a lot more authority than you would think, Tom. You ever met a county clerk? No, they wouldn't deign to be in the same fucking room as you.
Would I meet a county clerk and maybe they wouldn't mention it, or they?
Oh
or
no,
is it
you'd
like
know.
when you
They'd
meet
wear a
county
sash or
clerk,
something. Yeah.
they tell you about it.
Yeah.
You think maybe?
They don't enter a room quietly, Tom.
Do you think maybe county clerks are in on this? That they're like, yeah, we'll be the ones in charge.
Maybe. I mean, that seems to be what the sovereign citizens think, right?
Yeah. The next popular reason, financial instruments. They believe, now this gets complicated.
All right.
They believe that a secret bank account is created for every citizen at birth, and that vast sums of money it contains can be reclaimed through certain procedures and applied to
Wait, who starts these bank accounts?
the government, aka the corporation.
Right, but why?
To trap us, Tim. Several prominent sovereign citizens have advocated redemption schemes. The belief is, and a secret bank account is intertwined with the straw man theory, since this fund is supposedly associated with the straw man. Pseudo-legal economic theories also imply various misconceptions about currencies and financial institutions. One being that banks can create money out of air, so the borrower has no obligation to pay them back. And another, that money is actually worthless and not backed by gold.
You ever go on that website where you put in your name and the government tells you if you're owed any money?
Oh, yeah. If there's like what is it? Like settlements or like
It's
money left to
unclaimed
you?
funds or something?
Yeah.
I got some money that way, Tom. Is this what they're talking about?
How much money did you get?
I don't know. It's like, I think one time it was like $70 or something. And it was like,
it's not nothing.
like a former bank of mine. And it was just like, you fuckers. You knew where to get me. You knew how to get money to me. You just sent me a check. You knew my address.
Yeah, but they could also just keep that money if you hadn't found it out by using this website.
Yeah. Anyway, is that what they're talking about?
No, there's this really weird thing that's like very hard to wrap your head around where they think, so it's part of this dual personas idea, which is that individuals have two personas, one of flesh and blood, and the other is a separate, secret, legal personality, commonly called the straw man, that is subject to the government. It's possible to disassociate oneself from the straw man through the use of certain procedures, thus becoming...
Like medical procedures?
No, thus becoming free of all debts, liabilities, and legal constraints.
That makes sense.
Sovereign citizens may apply thumbprints to documents to distinguish themselves as flesh and gut blood people from their straw man. So they think, and one of these I saw is... Again, it's just like all these weird legal loopholes.
Yeah, weagle. That's
weird
that's the correct term.
legal loopholes.
Yeah.
Where they think when you're born, so your name's Tim, capital Tim,
right?
But I bet in your birth certificate your name is capital T, capital I, capital M.
All right.
They claim that's not me. That's not my name. That's not my birth certificate. That's some separate, like, legal entity you've created,
right?
That you're going to use to try and hold me accountable for these laws that I didn't agree to.
I mean, I think the whole purpose of this, or the whole point of this, is to say, like, we're all thrust into this system,
right, with
no consent, right? Like,
yeah.
Tom, do you want to have a credit score? No, they just start keeping a freaking credit score about you.
Mm-hmm.
The Equifax people.
Yeah.
And then they can't even freaking keep their data secure, so they collect all that data about you, and then,
right, and then it leaks all the time.
Then it leaks. This is just my beef with Equifax. Got nothing to do with the sovereign citizens.
Uh-huh.
But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the whole construct here is that it's like these systems here we did not opt into.
Right.
And I'm going to try to either assert that I never opted into them or somehow opt out of them.
Right.
And then somehow there was racism and
well, a lot of the racism
and not getting a license plate, which whatever. Like I mean, look, if you ask me, yeah, we didn't agree to like I never consented to be part of society.
Right.
But like,
and you've done your best
but
rail against it.
We're in a dang society, everybody.
Yeah.
So we got to do something.
Tim,
we got to live together.
Are you quoting the Joker meme?
Is that the
right now?
Is that the
There's
Joker?
a Joker meme of "We live in a society."
I
and that's
mean,
what
George
you sound
Costanza said it first. I'm quoting George Costanza, but you know, it's just like, all right, I don't want to register my car and pay those fees. And the government's screwing me there.
Well,
but also, I don't want some guy to hit me with a car and just drive away.
Yeah.
And then, sorry.
Yeah.
Got no plates. We can't find them.
So basically, like the legal distinction that I guess is on the book somewhere about that is. You have freedom of movement. You can use your feet or a bike or even a horse, and you don't need a license for any of those.
You don't need a license to ride a horse around New York City.
Well, maybe New York City, you need something, but
I'd be so mad if some guy just like came clomping down the sidewalk on a horse.
I mean, I think you can just do it though.
I thought you were going to claim that you saw it.
No, but I mean, think about like Central Park. There are all those horse-drawn buggies.
Yeah, but I feel like those are regulated.
Yeah, but because it's a commercial entity, I think you might be able to just ride a horse around New York City.
I'm not going to get hassled if I ride a horse through the Holland Tunnel.
Maybe through maybe because that's like a highway.
Right.
But I think probably as long as you weren't on like a highway.
Keep it to surface streets?
Yeah, I think you might be all right just riding a horse around.
Huh. We got to get our hands on some horses.
I've been saying that for years. But they were like, no, but a car is a complex machine that requires a license to operate.
Right.
Which, to be honest, I think that's completely fair. I think you should have to pass.
See a baby driving a car? I don't.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be able to reach the pedals? It'd be pathetic.
And I also think you should have to have insurance. Some states you don't need car insurance, but
Really?
I believe so. But I think you should have insurance. I would be fine if people were like, it's a scam, I want insurance. If it was like, okay, then you can put like $500,000 in escrow. And that way, if you seriously hurt somebody, they would have some recourse.
Yeah, but I feel like what follows that thinking is like, I don't want insurance, and also if anyone's affected by my actions, tough shit, they can go to hell.
Well,
like, oh, I have to find a way to make this good. Yes, I will be responsible and put some money in escrow.
Well, a lot of these people claim that basically they're not hurting anyone,
right, and
that they shouldn't be subject to laws that preemptively assume. So basically, it's like, why should I have to pay for car insurance? You don't know if I'm going to get into an accident or not. And if I do, you don't know if I'll be able to settle up with that person and pay them for the damages
I happen to be an excellent driver.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that binds all these guys. They're just like, and we're really good at driving. Nothing's going to happen.
Well,
chill out.
They claim they're very good at it, that, the laws that they're breaking aren't hurting anyone. And then on top of that, they also believe, a lot of them, that law isn't legal unless there's a victim, or like a crime doesn't exist unless there's a victim of that crime.
Tom, I'll tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as a victimless crime, because if you get involved in crime, you're playing yourself.
But what about, have you ever driven your car with like an expired inspection?
Yeah, and guess what? Damn near killed me.
What do you mean it damn near killed you?
The car hadn't been properly inspected, burst into flames.
Well, but
it was 2 days past the inspection date, too.
You were committing a crime. So do you think maybe that was karma? That was like, oh, I'm committing a crime here. I deserve this.
Automobile puns.
Oh, karma.
Yeah.
No, Tim, this is just the way I talk.
Wait. So if nothing happened,
if nothing happened, your inspection expires. You don't get to it right away, but you don't get a ticket or anything. Maybe a week later, you go and get a new inspection. Has a crime occurred? Nobody got hurt.
A law was broken.
Which means a crime occurred.
Is it a crime?
That makes you a criminal.
Is that a crime? If I get a parking ticket, is that a crime?
Well, I guess that's kind of what their argument is. Of like, well, we don't recognize your laws. If a crime is committed, if I hurt somebody, if I physically hurt somebody, if I steal from them, if I destroy their property or something like that, then
they do consent?
I mean, probably not. Probably then they're like, great, and we'll have the trial on my lawn. I, of course, will preside as judge. I doubt that. I think that hasn't, seemingly, at least from my understanding, if those types of things have happened, they haven't like bubbled to the surface. I couldn't find anybody using the defense, and I watched like a video of like a bunch of people in court that were sovereign citizens. And they were like all traffic stops. It was like traffic stops were like people didn't have licenses or they had suspended licenses.
We need to ban cars.
None
of this will ever be a problem if we all just, embrace the Hyperloop.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let him connect us
Smart
all
man.
with
He's
underground
got it all
tunnels.
figured out.
We'll get in those underground Teslas.
Yeah, he made
and
that
we'll
really
zip around.
that really great tunnel in Las Vegas where you drive a Tesla 20 miles an hour in a tunnel that you can't back up or turn around in if there's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how we all should be. And then the sovereign guys, they'd be like, this is cool. This is the future I was promised. And look, Tony Stark built it himself.
So I had mentioned that sovereign citizens are, considered terrorists by the FBI.
Yeah.
One of the things that they do, which this is like a page right out of the Scientologist playbook, another group of people you don't want to ever upset, is that they file false liens against people that they want to screw over.
Okay.
Because apparently you can just file a lien against somebody's property without any cause whatsoever. It's illegal to do it.
Right. So if you don't recognize...
But in the meantime, it can cause tremendous problems for that person.
Right.
Because if they have a lien filed against their house or their car, then they have to fight that and prove that's a false lien.
Right.
As you mentioned, the credit score, in the meantime, their credit score is going to take a hit. Other things might take a hit. And I don't know how successful these people are at then filing criminal charges against a false lien.
Right. It also seems to me that it's hard. It's hard to get anybody to care about prosecuting that. After.
Yeah, probably.
It's not one of those sexy crimes.
Well, and
armed robbery.
And even if you did prosecute, it'd be hard probably to get somebody to prosecute. And then if you sued them, they'd probably file more liens against you. Again,
there
it's
are
a
people
Scientology
who
tactic.
know how to just work the system. I think that's the irony here, right? Because they want to live outside the system, but then they're just but we'll exploit the system and use it to our advantage, which I think is pretty savvy.
Which
kind of
makes sense,
cool.
yeah. I mean, it does kind of make sense if it's I don't agree with your system. And they're like, well, you're going to have to. And being all right, well, fine. I'm going to just file frivolous paperwork against you. And I mean... And
I think what we've learned recently in the past few years is that if you have no respect for a system, but somehow get into that system, and your sole idea is to just sow as much chaos within that system, the system is generally powerless it's powerless to stop you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like 9 times out of 10, when people do this kind of thing, eventually the court just kind of throws up their hands and is all right.
And that's why even when it happens on a major news-making scale, you're upset and mad, but you're also kind of gotta hand it. He figured it out.
They
just beat
figured
the
out
system
the limit of how much everybody would care and how much bullshit. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about the power of somebody who's I've got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't care and I don't care what people think about me. In fact, I don't want people to like me.
Right.
I can just make myself a huge headache to you.
Right.
Somebody who's trying to live a nice normal life within the system.
Right. And I get that, which is why I generally try to steer clear of trying to agitate people like that.
Uh-huh. Maybe we're acting to bring...
I'm really not passing... Tom, I'm not saying this because I'm a coward. I'm saying this a little bit because I'm a coward. But, I'm sympathetic to, and I think the way if they wanted to radicalize me is to start getting on credit score. Because whenever I start thinking about credit scores, I'm just these motherfuckers just keep a file on me.
Yeah.
And I can't, and that file determines what I can and can't do.
Right.
And all these other guys are just yeah, we agree with that. We're just gonna work with this guy, with these people who are keeping a file against on you against your will,
Right.
and like
And might have a bunch of things wrong in there that are like next to impossible to
exactly.
fix.
So like, I can see if you view everything from like birth certificates to social security cards to like fishing licenses as like, I didn't ask for this to happen to me. You're doing this stuff. I can maybe not the fishing license because you have to do that, but like you're issued a social security card, you're issued a birth certificate. I can see them just being like, "Look, man, I want out."
Do you think there should be like just a state where it's like, look, this is the lawless state?
Hamsterdam.
It's called Hamsterdam.
Well, no, that's what, season 3 of The Wire, season 4
is
of The
that
Wire,
what,
where it was just like they were just like, we're gonna have a section of the city where like
the cops
drugs
don't
are,
go and,
exactly, do what you want there,
and
it was successful. But I also don't think,
it became a thriving metropolis.
but I also don't think that would be amenable to the sovereign. Like, I don't think they'd be like, sure, I'll just go exactly where you tell me.
Well, what if it was like, well, we'll find the state with the most sovereign people and we'll kick everybody else out.
We'll get everybody else out of there. Airlift them out.
Because, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, this guy that was driving around Brooklyn with these private license plates, it's like, okay, but tax dollars paid for this road.
Right.
And you're not you refuse to participate in that. Well, then you're not allowed to drive on the road either.
Right. But then what's he going to do? Drive on the sidewalk? Mow down a bunch of elderly?
No, but actually I'm thinking in my head, now I'm coming up with the argument of like, I drove on Vermont streets recently. I didn't pay any Vermont taxes.
A lot of the federal highway. Oh, yeah. That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we're being radicalized. Well, actually, we shouldn't say that because the FBI defines them as a terrorist group.
Yeah.
So I don't think I should willingly say I'm being radicalized in real time to be a member of this designated terror group. But let's just say I have an open mind.
I mean, I am a little surprised that it's considered like such a dangerous terrorist organization. And I totally get that there are some cases where, you know, like David Koresh style standoffs of like militias that decide, we're claiming that we're a sovereign nation and we're not abiding by those laws. And guess what? Like within our, land, we're going to start doing a bunch of fucked up things that aren't allowed in the United States. That I get. But a lot of these people where it's like, I'm just going to like drive around.
I'm trying to live off the grid as much as possible.
Yeah. And a lot of these people, though, they're like, I'm just going to like be a tremendous pain in the ass.
Right.
It's like, that's annoying.
But curmudgeons are an American institution.
It's annoying, but, that's not necessarily dangerous to me.
Tom, Wayne's World 2.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this?
What?
Mike Myers wrote this whole script.
Uh-huh.
And it's about Wayne and Garth. They find out that they're like, there's a piece of land that's not part of the U.S.
State?
It's not sovereign. So, like, they start their own sovereign country there.
Uh-huh.
But it turns out he had based, Mike Myers had based it on, like, an old, British movie called Passport to Pimlico.
Okay.
That he thought the studio had
the rights
to. And, like, 2 months before filming or something, the president of Paramount Pictures took him into took him into her office and was like, "What the fuck? We gave you a budget of like $70 million to make this, and you ripped off this movie that we don't even own." And he's like, "I thought you owned it." She's like, "We're gonna take everything you have. You won't even have a house to live in.
Wow.
You better go in there and write a new movie and still make." And so like Wayne's World 2 was written in like a weekend by like Mike Myers, who was in tears that he was going to lose everything. But the premise of the movie originally was going to be that
Yeah.
they are part of the sovereign citizen
two
movement.
things.
Wayne
First-
and Garth, who you couldn't have two better advocates.
Oh,
for.
yeah. That'd be a great
I think the sovereign
country to live in.
citizen movement really missed out on an opportunity there.
I mean, two things there. First off, if somebody was like, if you don't write a new movie in 2 months, we'll take everything you have. It'd be like, all right, you didn't say it had to be a good movie. I'll write a movie. But second, I would think that it would be fine under like parody laws.
I think it was just like beat for beat. Like I don't think it was
but
like
even still, if you're like joking,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they might just not have wanted the headache. And much like these sovereign citizens, they might have been like, look, we don't want to deal with the legal problems that are going to come up from this. This website I was looking at.
Wayne or Mike Myers should have said, like, I got an idea how you won't have to deal with the legal problems that come with me stealing this movie.
I have an idea.
Maybe if you read the script, you'd understand.
Maybe we can have a new country called Paramount. I was looking at this website that's the website that's I probably should give out the website, right?
I mean,
Shouldn't give them free advertising.
No.
The website also only worked like half the time I went to it.
Yeah, this is why. I just look up things like Wayne's World 2 on my computer and Weird Al videos.
But they sell, like I said, they sell these license plates. But it's crazy. They also sell an ID card called the Divine Authority Universal ID card.
Okay.
And it has, instead of your birth date, it says life began on or about, and then you put in a date. And then first breath location is your birthplace location.
Okay.
First breath location.
But what's the point of
I don't know why you
dressing it up in that
birth
way?
location. But that's what I'm saying. A lot of this is like very like weird understandings of legal of like, well, if you don't say birth date, if you say it's the place I drew my first breath.
Well, that I think goes to the flesh body as opposed to the straw man.
Probably.
The straw man, as I understand it, Tom. I think I'm getting the hang of it. The straw man has never drawn a breath.
Yeah, the straw man doesn't exist.
Right.
But it legally exists, but does not physically exist. They also sell these like pretty cool no trespassing signs. And it says, the reason I don't put no trespassing signs first is because in some places, if you post no trespassing signs on your property, that is an open invite for any law enforcement to search your property, since by law, they have to make sure that no one is trespassing. That I don't think is the case.
No, I don't think so either.
I think
like nobody, like the cops can't come into your house and be like, just making sure nobody's being murdered in here.
Yeah. I mean, my understanding's always been that like no trespassing signs, like that isn't a separate legal. I guess maybe it is that somebody could claim I didn't see any signs, I didn't know I was trespassing.
Right.
But that is really all that clears up, that it's not like if you don't have one, people can trespass, they can go wherever they want.
Right.
They can maybe get away with it once, but then once you're like, no, this is my land, you're trespassing. But they sell these signs that say like, again, they're claiming some other weird laws that if you're there, they can charge you up to like $5,000 a day entry fee or something. Which I mean sounds a lot better. I don't think legally that will hold
does
water.
It hold up when you're entering a place and there's one of those filming things where it's like by entering here you give us permission to use your image in perpetuity in any way that we want.
Yeah.
Like that's the same thing, right?
As a
being
sign
like,
that says
if you come
enter,
here, like you owe us $5,000. Like, how is one enforceable and not the other one?
Because they're not taking money.
Tom, I do not consent.
I think you would have to probably have like a lot of these signs, because when you see those signs that say by entering blah, 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 it's always like you're entering through a place where those signs.
Yeah, but like everybody's looking down at their phones these days.
That's not. I'm just saying if you have like a ton of land, you would have to put these signs at like every conceivable place somebody could enter.
Right.
And I still think it would be like you have to get that $5,000 out of somebody. Whereas if you have a sign saying we can use your image, then the burden's on them to stop you.
I'm going to sue MTV Spring Break regardless. See what
Did
happens.
you go on spring break? You went to one of these spring break
Yeah, and then
places?
I had called in sick to work, and then they plastered my image all over MTV. My boss found out.
It shouldn't come as a surprise that they're anti-vaxxers. But I do think it's funny because in one of the anti-vax signs that they sell, it says, when armed poison jabbers come knocking, let your no trespass sign do the talking. And it's like, yeah, that never happened. Everybody got to the point eventually where they're like, whatever. You don't want to get it. Fine. Shut up. So I guess it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
the ultimate
a lot of
goal
this
to
is-
be left alone.
No, that's the thing. I think if the ultimate,
I think for some of
I'm sure
them
for
probably.
But for a lot of these, again, it's like with this, like they're gonna come to your house and kick in the door and force you to get the vaccine. It's these like fantasies they have
Right.
that like, oh man, I'm gonna have like a justified excuse to kill somebody. That's all I want.
Right.
And then they'll drag me to court and I'll stand up, the judge will read off all the charges and I'll stand up in court and go, sir, I do not consent. And they'll go, shit, he got away with it. And I'll be a hero. That's what a lot of this stuff is. It's just fantasy.
Sometimes it's a nice fantasy.
If you like the show, you can find out more at tcgt.com. You can find all our social media links there. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tom Reynolds.
Follow me at your pal Tim.
Hey, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/complete guide, where we're wrapping up 2001, A Space Odyssey. I watched the motion picture last night.
After I read the book over
Yeah.
the last 6 weeks or something.
And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you get those episodes, you get all the past episodes. It's a great deal. Patreon.com/complete guide. We only accept U.S. and foreign currency, though. That's the one catch. If you're a sovereign citizen listening to this, maybe we'll be open to trades or barters.
Yeah. I don't know. We're looking for horses that we can ride around New York City.
Look, if you got 2 horses that me and Tim can use in New York City, we'd be willing to give you
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
3 months free access
Yeah.
to patreon.com/complete guide. You can't beat that. You're not going to find a deal like that anywhere else. Tim, it sounds like after all this, you agree more with sovereign citizens than you disagree.
I think after all of this.
Even though I told you it has racist roots.
No. First of all, I thought you said Rusted Root, my favorite band. I was like, oh, Rusted Root formed sovereign citizens.
Yeah, I'll give it a listen at least.
Tom, I think I can understand the framework a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily agree with it.
Yeah.
Not that I agree with
the thing is,
everybody and what everybody thinks, but I think the idea of being thrust into systems against your will is kind of if you step back and think about
Right.
it, like, a potentially problematic thing.
now keep in mind, you are able to get citizenship as an American in a different country, move to that country, renounce your American citizenship.
Right. Are you suggesting I do that?
No, I'm just saying, like, if people really believe in this that hard, like really think,
But that's just a whole other thing there. There's no place where you can go where you, like, don't have to get citizenship
yeah,
or be...
yeah.
Tom,
I mean, you could probably I think even if you buy your own island.
freaking
You're-
Equifax is still going to be on my ass.
I think
You're always trying to buy an island like you're the hero and
I'm
mentor.
just waiting for Equifax to finally give me that perfect credit score that will allow me to buy an island. I think a lot of this is like, look, guys, you think anybody likes paying taxes and following rules? Of course not. It's bullshit. Nobody wants to do it, but we all have to do it because that's the price of living in a society.
Yeah, but some of the rules are stupid.
Some of the rules are stupid, so
There's some new rules that are especially stupid.
and you should try and change those, but the idea that you think you can just be like, I'm rubber and you're glue. I mean, that's the thing. So none of these arguments have ever worked in court.
Right. Well, that's because the system.
Yeah, but
Tom, you can't fight City Hall.
But they claim,
You can't fight the county clerk. What are you, nuts?
But they basically claim like, no, there are cheat codes within the system.
Right.
Where you can, and it's like, that's not how it works. If you just want to be, I would be more sympathetic to like what you're saying. People that are like, you know what, I didn't opt into this. I want to opt out. Fuck all this. But the idea of like, no, there are ways around it. There are ways you can have your cake and eat it too. That he can still drive a car and not have to worry about being licensed. It's like, no, you can't. You can't do that stuff. You're gonna have to live, like a prehistoric lifestyle if you want to really not abide by any rules. If
Like
people
the
want,
Flintstones.
if people want to go live in the woods, we should let them.
I mean, but aren't you afraid of mountain men?
Yeah, and that's why I stay out of the mountain.
Yeah.
But
Tom,
if mountain men want to go be mountain men, we should let them.
the book The Wizard of Oz is supposedly an allegory, the debate over gold, silver, and the dollar standard. In the book, Dorothy represents traditional American values.
Of course.
Scarecrow portrays the American farmer. Tin Man represents the workers. And the Cowardly Lion depicts William Jennings Bryan.
Well, that's awfully specific.
But the Yellow Brick Road is kind of the road to the gold standard. I don't know. Oh, no, wait. It was the Silver Road, and Jennings Bryan was the standard bearer of the Silver Movement. Who knows? Look, the Wicked Witch of the West was President McKinley. The Wizard is Mark Hanna, the chairman of the Republican Party.
It must be wild to like. Who wrote The Wizard of Oz? What's that guy's name?
L. Frank Baum.
Baum,
Frank L.
yeah.
Baum.
It must be wild to be like, oh man, I'm writing like a political satire for the ages, and it's like, you succeed. You wrote one of the most popular stories of all time. Nobody knows that's what it's about, and even when it's explained, people are like, huh? That's not very clear. I don't really understand what this take even is.
All right, on that note, this ends the most controversial episode, The Complete Guide to Everything.
I do not consent.
See you next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.